All right, good evening, listeners. Welcome to Motley Crude, episode number 27. This evening, we're going to be talking about Beastman again, closing out that Arcane Journal. I'm Kevin, and this evening with me, I've got Andrew. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Awesome. And unfortunately, Ryan couldn't join us, but that's fine. The two of us, two Beastman dabblers or enthusiasts, we're gonna have this covered. It's fine. So yeah, this evening we'll be talking about the second army of infamy. That's the Wild Herd. But before we get to that, let's talk hobby stuff. So Andrew, what's been new in your hobby since the last time we talked?
I actually played games. So
Nice.
last weekend was a small um Old World tournament being held at Red Dragon's big 40K teams event. Uh it was 5 games over 2 days. Unfortunately, there was only 6 players who showed up um for reasons. So it was kind of more like a round robin type thing, but yeah, I got
Yeah,
5 games in, did pretty
nice.
well.
Good
Yeah, it was
stuff.
fun.
Did you have your dark elves?
Of course,
Awesome.
gotta represent.
Yeah, and how was
Um,
playing a bunch of games after being on the sidelines and TOing for a long time?
it was a nice change, and sort of reinvigorated some of my enthusiasm for the game because I have been sort of out of it for a long time.
For sure.
I think the last games I played were like October.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
because then you got into like the TOing
yeah, and
months
then
and stuff, yeah.
yeah, so it was always the TO, never the player, or however that saying goes. Um, So it was nice to actually play. I did TO at the same time though. Unfortunately, Ryan had to step out due to family things, but that was fine with such low amounts of people. Like it was
Yeah, it
fairly
ran
easy
itself,
to
I
do that.
assume, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's pretty good. Everyone's pretty chill. But yeah, it was
Good
nice
stuff.
to play. And you know, do you how do I say this? Actually engage with the game instead of just abstracting based on rules, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
being actual to play is very different than just reading the rules or, making TO calls and stuff.
100%.
So it was nice to know I still had at least that handle of it and was able to play, halfway decent
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment.
Because I think you did you beat Cleary?
I did.
Good stuff.
Um yeah, he took like a ridiculous um Tomb King list, one of the
Yeah,
Arcane Journal ones. That's the
Royal
one.
Host, a million archers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a million archers with 4 chariots in the unit. Uh, one of them was his like Hierophant prince or some shit. And then he was able to bounce wounds off the prince onto
Yeah,
another
on
chariot that was
onto
in
the
the
Herald. Yeah.
yeah, and then that was basically his whole army plus 3 of the crabby dudes and another just rando chariot on
Sure.
its own. Um, but I was able to push into that big unit with basically everything and just mulch it faster. Well, he couldn't do any recursion because we're always locked into combat, so I was just mulching everything.
Nice.
Um, his crabs tried to kill.
Tomb
Um,
Scorpions, you mean? Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
he didn't like when I called them crabs, so I'm just gonna continue
Okay.
calling them that.
Okay. Fair.
That's just for Cleary though.
Okay.
Um, so I had the Charybdis on the flank of that unit, just like mowing down. He was able to multi-charge it with the 3 Tomb Scorpions, and the Charybdis survived with 1 wound.
Oh, he didn't hit
Um,
a single monster slayer? That's amazing.
he didn't get the Monster Slayer, and I think he did like maybe like 2 or 3 wounds on the thing. So it survived with 1. And then because I was just generating so much combat res off like the giant unit, they all died that turn anyway because he still lost combat.
Yeah, they all crumbled. Yeah.
They all crumbled, so that was kind of funny to me. But yeah, we got to like turn 5 and had gone through his, let's say, half the unit, and there was like, I don't know, I'd have to bring up the list, but at least 60 skeletons, not including the
Nice.
chariots. But I'd killed some of the chariots at that point. I don't think he had a way to um, bounce wounds off his Hierophant after that sort of 5th turn. And he was locked in a challenge with my general, my Dreadlord on a Black Dragon. So it was basically like, okay, we know how this is gonna go. Like, you're gonna mulch the unit over the next like 2 turns. So we packed it in. We just said, okay. We did play out the challenge just because there was a chance he could have survived, which would have changed the way it would have went on like turn 6. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty
Awesome.
crazy.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Any other standout games over the 5?
Yeah, I played Andrew Stratton, I think his last name is,
Okay.
and he had brought Orion's Wild Hunt.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really cool to see on the table, and there was a lot of stuff that I was worried about there because the Wild Riders, he was running in like big, huge lines,
Okay.
with like characters supporting them, so they were kind of scary, like going toe to toe. He did bring Orion, which I feel kind of let him down. Like, I did win that game in the end, but Orion didn't really do much, and that's, I think we highlighted in our like other episode that he's kind of way too expensive for what he does.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
but like the rest of his list was pretty fucking solid. So it was cool to see that on the table. So I was really excited for that game. And
Yeah,
Andrew's
that's
just
awesome.
a good guy to play anyway, so it was enjoyable.
Awesome. I haven't played into that Army of Infamy yet, so that's good to hear. And I'm not surprised that Orion is kind of not worth the points, unfortunately.
Yeah, like if he had bought like a really nice like tricked out lord or something, I think that list would have actually been a lot scarier.
Yeah.
But he really wanted to go with at least see what Orion did, is what he said. Like
Sure.
he kind of agreed that like maybe he's not the best choice. Um, but if he does make it into combat, he will fuck up whatever he touches. It's just he's hard to maneuver. He's not as fast as the army,
Yeah.
really. Um, if he gets like what happened in our game is he kind of got like pulled out onto a flank and then killed what he charged. I think it was my chariot or something. But at that point, the game had moved to like almost the other side of the board. So basically, it was just kind of like left there
Yeah, stranded, yeah.
trying to like catch up with everything. So after that, first thing he killed, he was kind of just out of the game for the rest of the game. And then I think he eventually ended up dying to something stupid like magic or something. I forget.
Dark Rider shots or whatever.
No, because he was able, because it's the
Oh
dogs
yeah,
are
yeah, the
ethereal.
dogs. Yeah.
You can't actually hurt him with shooting unless I had magic shots, which I didn't. But my wizard was pretty blasty as well, so I think that's what eventually got him. But it was like
Sure.
to like something like ridiculous. Like it wasn't like some epic fight. It was just like, here's some stupid wounds I got through. Okay, now he's dead.
Yeah, a stupid fireball or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Did you get any painting done also since the last time we talked?
I've been working on some terrain stuff. Um, for Old World, and then I started airbrushing some of those WTC buildings for the 40K tournament. And then as we speak, I'm working on some Goliaths for Necromunda that I'd started a few weeks ago that I kind of want to get done before I
Nice.
dive into the Beastman shit. Although I feel like that's going to be a September project, is that Beastman army.
Okay, after CCBB.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't matter. You're not playing anyway, so it's not like you're gonna have the opportunity to rock them out at CCBB.
Right.
Awesome. Good. On my end, I did get some hobby done also. So I played 2 games. I wasn't at the event, unfortunately, but I did get 2 games in nonetheless since our last time. I played Beastman twice. I played the Minotaur Bloodherd into 2 very different like Bretonnian lists. One was Exiles, the other one was just Grand Army. And I managed to win both games with the Minotaurs. And I think there's some juice there. It's not as good, and we'll talk about the other Army of Infamy and the Grand Army and stuff later tonight. But it's not as good as the others, but I still think it has some juice because I think Beastmen are in a pretty good place right now. After that book, the combo that we talked about last episode of like the Demon Heart on that level 1 general, who's always sort of in the center of the board, leading from the front, as it were, is very, very good in terms of dispelling your enemy. I played 1 game with the Herdstone also, so this guy was dispelling level 4s at +6, which because he was
Jesus.
close to the Herdstone, so that like on a level 1 Minotaur, that was
Yeah.
wild. Because of course the Herdstone gives him an additional -1 there, so like that's wild, and it was really, really good. Obviously, unfortunately, like once my opponent got he got a crystal column up, and of course when you're dispelling columns, it's against like the base value, but you don't get those bonuses. You just get like the -1 from the Herdstone. So dispelling that on a 10+ was like took forever. But aside from and was a big pain in the ass. But aside from that, like it was a really good combo. The other combo that's mental in this Army of Infamy is the combo of always strikes last from I think it's the Demonic Aura in Warriors of Chaos. With the soiled banner, the poopy banner that we talked about on like a big unit of Minotaurs with a Doom Bull. So giving them hatred and striking before your opponent, just like it just flattens anything it touches. And so I had this one in the 1 game. The Doom Bull was within range of the Herdstone, which rerolls the 1s to wound. He had like the Ogre Blade, so he was rerolling all his hits, and he was strength 8, obviously. So he was basically wounding everything on 2s, but rerolling 1s and striking before his opponents. Like he was, incredibly like blendy. Like it's a lot of fun. Like it speaks to me. Like this kind of list speaks to me as a player, even though it's not perfect. It's got like its blind spots for sure, but like it's fun. The Herdstone, I was sort of lukewarm on it when we reviewed it. It was impactful in my game where I played it, but I want to test it some more. I bought a unit of 5 Gores for 35 points, and they just babysat the Herdstone the entire game. Like in skirmish, I just ran them up like to touch the Herdstone, and whenever my opponent wanted to charge, it was pretty gamey there. But whenever my opponent wanted to charge the Gores, I would just run them around the Herdstone the other way. I got lucky on my Impetuous, so I thought that was great. And then I think overall it's a fun army it's certainly a very fun Army of Infamy. I have all the models. I think I'll paint it up when I'm done with my. Actually, I will paint it up when I'm done with my Wolves of the Sea. Speaking of Wolves of the Sea, I finished painting that mounted sorcerer for them that I converted. I think he came out really well. He needs a base, but that's fine. Like he's all painted. I also am working on a pair of skin wolves, including like I don't know if you've ever seen it, Andrew, but there's like a Forge World special skin wolf character that was like a Games Day thing or something. So I'm painting that guy to be like the leader of the skin wolves also. I think he's dragging on the ground like an Empire State Trooper in one hand. So I think because to honor Ryan's army, I'm going to have him be a Nuln guy. Just so when I face him, it could be like a fun little thing. That's about. Sorry,
Dick move.
Yeah, that's the kind of that's what the level I rise to when I'm playing games, right? And then I also bought a bunch of stuff, so a little bit like a few more Beastmen models that I needed for the Minotaur Bloodherd, and then I bought a ton of. I've decided to believe the rumors. This may be a massive financial mistake, but I've bought a ton of Dogs of War stuff for Talaya, so we'll see how that works out.
Why would you do that? Why would you buy those?
No, I bought I didn't buy the actual GW models because they're going to be re-released if this comes out.
Well,
and
that's
like
what I'm saying. Like
no, I bought like proxies. No, I brought
Okay,
like
okay, that.
cool pikemen and cool like sort of conquistador style cavalry models that I think fit super well. But I didn't go out and like spend $5,000 on metal models from the 90s there. Yeah, so that's about it. That's enough actually. So okay, we got some news to cover. I'm sure you saw them, Andrew. There was 2 almanacs this week about Grand Cathay. Like there was one about lore, and the other one was about designing the faction.
Yeah.
Have you like? Do you have any comments about those?
Not really. Like I read them both. It's interesting to see some of the stuff. I guess for them to pull back the veil a bit and talk about some of the things involved with creating a new army from scratch.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I never get too much out of those.
sure. Yeah,
Those style of almanacs. Like they said at the end of today, they'll be doing rules cover, or yeah, they'll be going into rules next week. So I'm more excited for the
yeah,
next week when we get to actually get a sense of how this army is going to play on the table. Um, and maybe if they actually go like super deep into the lore, like they kind of touched on a few things, but like not enough to like really get a huge sense of the army. So like I'm a big lore buff, but like I don't know, there just didn't seem to be enough from the articles.
yeah. Agreed. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it was they did basically say that there would be another Cathay Almanac coming though at the end of today's, which is
yeah. Arcane Journal.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Um, so I wonder what that means or like how soon it'll be. Um,
Yeah, I think Andrew, this is like the rumors we talked about a few episodes ago, where we said that Cathay is probably going to be in 3 waves. From what we heard, like the second wave around December January timeframe, and then the fact that they said there's going to be at least one other Arcane Journal kind of or doesn't confirm, but at least supports that rumor a little bit. So that's cool, I guess.
yeah, it's just for me, it's like how are they gonna marry those two arcane journals into like a
Yeah,
unified list? Like I hope
yeah,
I well, I'm pretty sure I know how it's you're gonna have to buy both books,
yes, that's
but
exactly what I think.
that just I don't know feels shitty. Like
Sure.
they should have just released it all in one, and then okay, in 6 months you'll get the other half of the models rules in this book. But like having to buy 2 books for one army is just stupid, especially because damn well what's gonna happen is like in a year or two it'll be like, okay, here's just the Cathay book, and it'll be all unified in one anyway. It's just like,
Sure.
why go through all this rigmarole? Obviously,
Yeah,
they're
I agree.
looking to get more money, but it's just a pain in the dick as a gamer.
Yeah, I agree. At least uh, I know I'm sounding like I'm anyways, whatever, but at least they're cheap books when it comes to the old world. It's not like your codexes or whatever from 40K, so you're still sort of winning on that side, but like I get you. It is a pain in the ass, especially if they turn out to do like 3 different books because they do 3 waves. Well, that's not great. But I
Well, like,
guess
didn't they already
yeah,
pull that with? They already pulled that with some of the AOS factions,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
the
Lumineth Realm Lords was like brutal. They had 3 books within like a year because they were in 2 waves, got 2 books, and then if I remember correctly, the edition changed and he got like a 3rd book.
yeah, and weren't the not Space Marines also split between a couple books?
Stormcast Eternals. I mean, they
That's
get a
it.
lot of books, but I don't think it was as bad as 3 within a year. I think that's the worst I've heard, but I'd have to double
Yeah,
check. Like I'm completely disconnected from AOS at this point. I just
yeah,
use
I
the
was kind
models
of
for
out of it.
stuff. Yeah, no, I think also the 2 books, like the way it's going to work out, Andrew, is going to be like the first book's going to be just unit entries and like the general grand army, and then in the second book you'll get like your 2 armies of infamy with the other half or third of the models. That seems to make sense as a way of dividing it, although it is like, as you mentioned, a bit annoying. um Yeah, there's a few things for me in the two almanacs that sort of stood out. Like I like the lore mentions and the and some of the connections that they make. So they mentioned quite a few times in the one I think that came out today that Kislev was like this point connect or this country connecting the old world and Cathay, and that there was a lot of interaction in this time period between Kislev and Cathay. I think that to me strengthens like the case for their inclusion a little bit. They're quiet on Kislev now, but if they dropped the faction, I think from their plans entirely, they wouldn't have mentioned it like 3 or 4 times as being significant to Kislev or to Cathay today. I think, anyways. And then they have mentions of like a bunch of other cool stuff in the lore that I like the Hobgoblin Khans as like an enemy of Cathay is cool. I think this is like the third time they've been mentioned in the old world. Like they're twice in articles, or sorry, once in a video, once in an article, and once on the map. So that's cool stuff. The Monkey King as another cool character in Cathay, and Koresh and the Blood Nagas as another really cool sort of nation or faction or what have you. They said that they had no plans for these, but like they're just cool things, and the fact that these keep getting mentioned many times is, I don't know. I don't think the Blood Nagas were mentioned at all in Warhammer Fantasy like 8th edition, and now they've gotten like 3 or 4 mentions, which is really I'm really there for sure.
Well, I think like if Dogs comes out, wasn't there a Hobgoblin unit in Dogs of War back in the day?
Yeah, I think there was 2. I think there was a special character who was like a Khan, and then there was I think it's Ogla Khans as a unit of like a regiment of renown of like Hobgoblin riders.
Yeah. So we'll probably see that at the least if they keep
Yeah.
mentioning this shit.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And they're cool models. Everybody likes a good wolf rider, so that's good stuff. And also what I think is really cool in that article is they went. We sort of knew this from Creative Assembly, the company that makes the Total War games, but they really went into some detail about how they created essentially like the army like Cathay for the Total War game at first. So they like they wrote a call it like an unreleased army book for it. They did a bunch of concept art. They created the lore, all that kind of stuff. So they did a lot of prep work, and that's interesting. And we kind of knew that. But what I was thinking is, you know what? That also means that they've done the same exact kind of work for Norska, because it's its own faction in Total War with different units from Warriors of Chaos. They've done the same thing for Kislev, and they've done the same thing for Vampire Coasts, which are all their like entire own factions in that game. So nothing of course about when or if those factions will release, but like the fact that if you're a Vampire Coast fan, I know Danny is, for instance. Hi Danny, if you're listening to this. The fact that they have like concept art, 3D models, lore, a fake army book for it, like that's all really positive if you like that faction, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, no, that's all I had. So that was good stuff. And then like you, I'm excited for the rules reveal next week. I'm hoping to see something about like the yin yang and how they're gonna. I think that's like central to like their identity as a faction, but how they're gonna convert that to the tabletop. Yeah, that's about all I have on those. Before we get to the Army of Infamy, one last thing is we now have a podcast Discord up and running. So you listeners out there, you can look for the Motley Crude. It's just called Motley Crude, the server, on Discord, and come and chat with us. Show your hobby updates and organize some games on Warhol or what have you. But like, come hang out with us. We'd like that. So yeah, that's also available now. Cool. Let's talk about the Wild Herd. So we're going to be talking army composition and rules, and then we're going to be talking after about all the new units, because we did cover last episode the new magic and the magic items. So that's like tonight it's going to be Kralma, the Primal Herd, Primal Hounds, Warp Gores, and the Praeton. Okay, Andrew, what are your thoughts on the Army of Infamy overall? Like, you like it? You think it's thematic? You think it brings something new? Like, what are you thinking here?
I don't know. It feels like a magic heavy
Yeah.
just forget the name of it, Grand Army. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel very different from the actual Grand Army, other than like Minotaurs are pulled out and I guess the giant guys.
Yeah, gigantic, gigantic spawn also. Yeah, gorgons.
No, the chaos. Yeah. So like, I don't know. It just seems like the same list, but with like a couple things missing. And in its place, you get the new um, gore unit plus that combined unit,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about, and the weird Praeton. But like, I don't know. It doesn't feel distinct enough for me. And like, sure, some of the rules are interesting, but it's not like a huge departure from what you can do with the actual Grand Army.
Yep, I don't disagree with you, man. I think it leans really heavily onto. Well, it tries to do a few things, but I think what's going to stick out the most if you play against the Wild Herd is leaning into the magic aspect of Beastmen, which admittedly they're very good at. But you're right that like it sort of leans into something that exists in the Grand Army. It doesn't make it like an entirely new list, right? Like I don't know, Orion's Wild Hunt, for instance, is a wood elf cavalry list, which you never really saw before. So that's an entirely new thing. This one is more just like a deviation off the main list. Taking out some big gribblies and then focusing more on magic. So yeah, I think it's a strong Army of Infamy overall. Like I agree with you, Andrew, that the theme is kind of falls short for me, but I think the rules are actually quite good. Um, yeah, we talked about the play style, but like if you want to lean down like a magic dominance type of archetype for your list, I think it's very possible in this one, especially when you have like the herd stone and all the great magic items that Beastman has access to. So that's all good. And I think it's definitely stronger or like more competitive or optimal or what have you there than the Minotaur Army of Infamy, but it's still weaker overall than the Grand Army. I see it as like a little bit of a side grade to the Grand Army, bit weaker, but like it's a bit like Krace, like the Kracian Warhost for High Elves. Like it's sort of a different take on it, but like a bit of a side grade is how I'd evaluate it. Okay. So do you want me to do army composition or are you going to take it?
I can do it.
Okay.
So for army composition, you can take up to 50% of your army as characters. You can have one Beast Lord or Great Brave Shaman per 1,000 points. And then as many Wargors, Brave Shamans, and Centaur Chieftains as you want. In core, at least 33% of your army must be spent on it. You have to take at least one Primal Warherd, and then you can take 0 to 1 Tuskor Chariots per 1,000 points. 0 to 1 Centaur Herd may be taken as a core choice per Centaur Chieftain taken. And then you can have any amount of Gore Herds, Ungore Herds, Chaos Warhounds, Primal Warhounds, and Razor Gore Herds. For special, you can take up to 50 points, or sorry, 50% of your army as special. And you can have 0 to 1 Dragon Ogre units, 0 to 1 Cockatrice or Praetons per 1,000, and then any amount of Warped Gores, Beastigore Herds, Harpies, Centaur Herds, Tuskor Chariots, and Razor Gore Chariots. For rare, you can spend up to 33% of your army again. And you can buy Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, Jabberslice Cygors, Chaos Giants, and Chaos Spawn. Your BSB is a single Wargore, and they can buy a banner for up to no points. Or sorry, no
Yeah,
points
there's no
limit.
limit. Yeah. Cool. Any thoughts on that?
I think, well, basically just what I said. Like it just feels like a more reduced Grand Army. You know, all the sort of mainstays you see in the Grand Army are still here, minus like Minotaurs,
Yeah.
and unfortunately not the giant chaos spawn.
Yeah.
I think limiting the dragon ogres to 0 to 1 also kind of hurts this army's damage output.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if the new units that you get make up for that, but I guess again, like we said, I think with this army, you really want to lean super heavy into the magic side of things and just start fucking blasting. So it might be okay because once you get a pretty decent couple wizards in here with some of the magic items and some of the rules we'll talk about in a minute, like I think you can do some pretty nasty things with your wizards.
Yep, I fully agree. Like a lot of Vile Tide casters is just nasty for
Yeah.
everybody involved. Yeah, from my end, I wish they'd leaned a little bit harder into the theme here, uh, being a little bit more restrictive. Like take away the Shaggus, the Dragon Ogres, just have it be like all the small skirmishy stuff and blocks of like gores on gores, that kind of stuff, and all the new units and magic casters, just to really lean into that theme, and not
Yeah.
have like each list be 4 dragon ogres and 2 shagos, and like just to replace the stuff you lost. But anyways, the good news, you can take level 4s. In fact, I don't think you'd have a list without them in this case, and you may very well see 2 in like this Army of Infamy. I think that's maybe the way to go, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you, man. You're not losing a lot here. No Minotaurs is like the unit, I think, is not too bad, but losing Doom Bulls does hurt because you do see them a lot in competitive lists. Gorgons, I'm not super upset at losing. Like I think you'll do fine without, but you have lost them also. Um, what else? Yeah, 33% core in Wild Herd, I think, is not ideal. Like in the Minotaur list that we talked about last episode, you could just stack up on 2 big units of big guys, and you can put your Herdstone in core if you take that. So and that covers basically all of your 33% core. In this one though, like you have to take, units of gores and ungores and stuff like that, and then not really ideal for 660 points. You do have Razor Gores in there, so really, and you will take 3,
Yeah.
so probably, so it's really like 500 points, but still, I mean, you just, yeah, not
I
ideal.
mean, you can get like in a 2,000 point list a couple of chariots as well.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Like they're not the good ones, but like they'll still do some work for you. So I think like for me playing this list, I'd be leaning as heavy as I can into sort of speed. So it'd be like all the chariots, all the warhounds, all the razor gores. Make sure you take that unit of dragon ogres.
Yeah.
Probably your your great brave shamans are floating around on chariots too, and just kind of like rush and shoot and try to skirt around shit
Yeah.
while your primal war herd sits in the back just watching everything go.
Yeah, sure. That's interesting. I thought the way that I'd lean into it would probably be like a big unit of poison shooting Ungors for sure, because you will cast TMP, because your wizards will get like ridiculous casting bonuses. So it's really easy
Yeah.
to move them around. And then I don't hate a chariot. I would for sure take Razor Gores and maybe like a few ambushing cheap units of Gores or some of the new stuff, just for funsies to be annoying. But like, yeah, I'd have to work out the points on that. Like it's not terrible. I just would rather see it be at 25% in this case, because there's nothing fantastic being added to this list. But whatever, it is what it is. Yeah, I like to see the Primal Warhounds and the Warherds in core here. I think you don't see them really if they're not in core. And I like it when Armies of Infamy have like their bespoke units in core, so you can actually see them on the table. Warped Gores are not in core though, so that means they're basically not showing up, amongst other reasons, which we'll cover later. So yeah, that's my take on the composition. Let's look at the special rules. I think, Angela, I'll kick off with the first one, which is Ancient Sorcery. Ancient Sorcery is, in addition to the lores of magic they would normally know, spells from, they would normally know spells from Beastmen Shamans in the Wild Herd army may know spells from the lore of Primal Magic. Yeah, we talked about this one last episode. Cool. It saves you a few points, so you don't have to take a 15-point item to have access to the lore. And if you're going to see the new Primal Magic lore, you're probably going to see it in this Army of Infamy, because you have a really good chance of having multiple casters. I think you need elementalism on your first caster for sure for like TMPing the Ungors around, but having the new lore on your second or third caster works completely fine and is not a bad call. So yeah, a cool little rule, saves you a few points. Nothing crazy to write home about. What do you think?
Yeah, like you, it. I mean, it makes sense because it's the new lore. At least one of these lists should have it. Um, so yeah, you'll probably see it a bit because there was a couple good spells in there.
Yeah,
But definitely not your first choice caster.
agreed. Yeah. Okay, cool. You want to take the next one, Dark Coven?
Yeah, this is a long one. So, Beastmen Shamans within a Wild Herd army may leech power from nearby wizards when they attempt to cast the spell or when attempting a wizardly dispel. To do so, a Bray Shaman or Great Bray Shaman may apply a +1 modifier to their casting or dispel roll for each other friendly wizard within their command range. Uh, Keep in mind that is each, not just one.
Hmm.
However, if they roll any natural double when making the roll, something has gone horribly wrong and the spell is miscast, or they have been outclassed in the arts in case of dispelling. In such cases, roll immediately on the miscast table and apply the result to the Bray Shaman or Great Bray Shaman that made the attempt, and to each friendly wizard within their command range. Um, yeah, this is super powerful. This is probably why you're going to be taking this and just leaning heavily into magic.
Yeah.
Sure, there is that chance that you'll blast yourself and every wizard around you. Um, but I think that's a risk you should be willing to take with just how powerful this ability is. And, you take two or three extra wizards, even just shitty Bray Shamans floating around. And all of a sudden, even those like little level 2 guys are casting as level 4s, and you're just vile tiding the shit out of everything around you. It's crazy. This is a crazy rule.
Yeah, I think
Especially
it's
especially
yeah,
with the spells beastmen have access to.
yeah.
Like Vile Tide, ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, man. I think this is a wild rule. Like it's super fun. It's super thematic. Also for like this army of infamy based around magic, like having these 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're an insane person, like shamans like chanting around a herdstone in like the deep forest. Like it's super cool. I love that it's high risk, high reward. Like and it'll make for some really good there's some really great Warhammer war stories. When your forecasters miscast uh and go supernova, with the big pipe plates or whatever, blasting like half your army apart. Like that's going to be something you'll talk about for years for sure. So I really like it. From a more competitive standpoint or like an optimization standpoint, like you don't need to note that you don't need to use this if you don't like want to. So you can save it for spells that really matter. If you're banking, for instance, on that poison shooting block of Ungors, you use it on your TMP to make sure it goes off. Or if you've got a dragon sort of barreling down towards you, you make sure you cast all those Vile Tides with it just to stack more wounds on it, like that kind of stuff. Just to limit your chances of everybody exploding, as it were. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think you can get to some pretty wild numbers if you go, for instance, two great Bray Shamans and two Bray Shamans for four casters. By my read of this right now, the Shaman is himself is within his command range, so you would be like a +4, plus another one from a Herdstone if you've got one nearby. So your level 4 caster is now casting at +9, which is ridiculous, and possibly no fun for your opponent. But anyways, ridiculous. So yeah, I like it. It's fun stuff. Um, Andrew, you want to take Gift from the Dark Gods?
Yeah. So character models in this army may spend an additional 25 points on magic items, an additional 25 points on chaos mutations. I super dig this. You can, being able to squeak out an extra 25 points can net you some pretty sweet combos in terms of magic items. This, if you decide to take a Beast Lord, this is probably why, and you're just gonna like kit him out with the sweetest drip you can.
Yeah.
Because you can make some pretty fucking wild stuff. With that extra 25 points, plus, stacking the mutations as well. So I know a lot of people take the -1 to hit one,
Yeah, Slugskin.
Slug Skin, but that's 50 points, so that usually takes up your whole mutation slot. But having another 25 points in there, you can kind of make some cool combos with that, or just make really like stacked out characters. So I dig this. Yeah, what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the one before is like the crazy wild rule, but this one here is just a really dependable. It'll come into play in every game, and it'll serve you well in every game type rule. It's very good. We talked about how when we were talking about Wood Elves, for example, like just having kindreds, having that extra layer of customization was just so strong. But having in this case an extra 50 points of customization through both the mutations and the items is just really good. It lets you, as you mentioned, make some really good chieftains, wargors, or what have you there, just by because you can do like I don't know ogre blade or another because they have some wild magical weapons there, but like a big magic weapon, and then you still have meaningful points to be defensive with like the super common chaos full plate or full plate or just putting a talisman on or whatever on them. Like you have a lot of options out of those points. And I mean, even like your basic bitch shitty characters with 75 points of magic items and mutations, like that's a really like it gives them a really big glow up and allows them to be much more I think useful on the table when you do have that extra customization. The only thing I will say is like with only Beastman mutations, you're probably going to run out of good options pretty quickly, and not necessarily always use your 75 points. But I think Andrew, the one I immediately looked at is the combo of Slug Skin, the -1 to hit with Gnarled Hide, which gives you a +1 to your armor save. So those together like are I think is just a tasty combo for a combat character for sure. So yeah, I think this is a very strong. Um, It'd be great on a Doom Bull. That's probably why they don't have Doom Bulls, frankly. But yeah, it's a really strong role.
Or having access to those chaos gifts as well.
Yeah, yeah. If you had access to both, it would be even better because then you could do some really wild stuff. Yeah. Okay. Last rule is roaming warbands. So within a wild herd army, any number of gore herds, ungore herds, primal war herds, and Senegor herds may have ambushers at the cost of 1 point per model. Additionally, any number of Beastman chieftains and Senegor chieftains may have ambushers for 10 points per model, which is great. And then finally, 0 to 1 Gore Herd, Ungore Herd, or Senegor Herd per 1,000 points with a unit strength of 10 or less may be given ambushers for free. Yeah, I think this is a good little utility rule. You can like lean into ambush with this army for sure because your Wargore has a rule to let you re-roll once a turn, and then they have the item that gives +or -1 to ambush rolls. So you can really lean into this if you want. I think more than most other armies, but I don't think that's the best way to run Beastmen or run this army of infamy. I think you put like 2 or 3 cheap units in ambush, potentially the ones that get it for free here, and then you just use them to mess with your opponent as the game advances. But yeah, overall, it's just a good little utility piece and you can use it or not, but it's always sort of there depending on the matchup. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like I agree. Um, it's nice to have just wild access to um more ambushers, and you know, I think with the the Beast Lord plus that item you just mentioned, Like it kind of makes beastmen the most reliable ambushers.
Yeah.
So if there was an army that you would, want to lean super heavy into it, I think this would be the one to do it. Um, I'm not sure what that list would look like because I haven't really given it that much thought, but just that this rule plus, the item plus the ability on the Beast Lord, I think there's probably some sort of play there where you're just kind of coming in on all sides and surrounding your opponent very early in the game. Um, I think there's some legs to that for sure.
Yeah, sure. Like it'll work. It'll be fun. I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm not sure it's the best way, but I think you're right that you can play it, and like this army is better at doing it than basically any other army, frankly. So that's good. Okay, so before we move on to the actual units, Andrew, back at you with this one. Like, do you think that when you look at those 4 rules together, they come together well and like impact your army on the table, or do you think it's just like good flavor or not good flavor? Like, what are your thoughts?
Um, they kind of feel unrelated to each other.
Yeah,
Like, there's not really a cohesive theme. I mean, the first one is should have been a rule for all beastmen. I think I said that last show. That it's a new lore for this faction. Why not just give it to all 3 of the
sure.
armies?
Yeah,
But whatever. Um, and then like the Dark Coven is amazing. So it'd make you think like, okay, maybe the rest of the rules should be leaning into that, but it's not really. Um, I think the rules themselves are all like pretty fucking good.
yeah,
Um, but they just don't have sort of like a cohesive theme to them, I find. Like it's kind of just like here's 3 awesome, or yeah, let's just say 3 awesome rules. And none of them kind of proc off each other or
yeah.
dictate how the whole army should go. Um, which is fine, I guess. Like it just, I don't know, seems kind of disjointed to me.
Yep, I'm gonna say something very similar here in a few seconds. I think this is first thing. There's no negative rule here, which cool. Like I'm not
Yeah.
bothered by it at all. Like a lot of armies of infamies have 1 or even 2 negative rules, so that's great. I agree with you. I think there's 2 strong rules in here. Dark Coven and Gifts from the Dark Gods are really solid, and you can build your army around them for sure. And then the other 2 rules are just like fun / useful, nice to have there. That's great. But like you, I'm not getting hooked by a theme here. It feels to me like the Primal Herd was supposed to be the, Morgur, the Shadow Gave, everything is magic, everything is a chaos spawn list. But that's not what I'm getting
Yeah.
here. Dark Covens kind of like you mentioned supports this, and you think you're heading into like a real magic heavy army of infamy, and you are because of the units and the items, but the other 3 rules don't really bring it all together, and I think the theme is kind of pulled in multiple directions as a result, right? So yeah, I think it's a miss for me on theme, but it's definitely impactful on the table and playable, and I think you could do some really nasty magic casting lists with this. Um, yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's talk about the units. I think I'll take the first one. Kralma, the Prophet of Rune. So Kralma is essentially a Great Bray Shaman. He can be included in any lists that has access to the Great Bray Shaman. So basically, not Minotaurs. Kralma is movement 5. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 4, T5, 4 wounds, initiative 3, 2 attacks, leadership 8 for 245 points. Kralma is armed with a grizzly totem, which I'll get to in a minute. He's a level 4 wizard, which knows spells from dark magic and the new primal magic lore. He's got the Bray Staff rule that all Bray Shaman get access to. He's got Future Sight, Gaze of the Gods, Leering Spirit, the Lore of Beasts to get Valtide, Mark of Chaos Undivided, as they all do, Primal Fury, and Warband. So Future Sight gives him a +4 ward save. And then Leering Spirit is a fun one. Leering Spirit. So when you deploy this character, you place a marker, which is like his little buddy that he comes with, like his little minion or whatever, anywhere on the battlefield that's not within 8 inches of your enemy unit or of enemy units. Once that's placed, it cannot move, but it has a 360 line of sight. Like you can't interact with this marker in any way, shape, or form. It just exists until Kralmaw himself is killed. And then the marker during the shooting phase, basically, or your own shooting phase, of course, it casts the Devolve spell from the Lore of Beasts as a bound spell, power level 3. That's fun. Devolve is like a little bit like a Vampire Count Scream, and that like it's a spell, it's not an ability, but and it doesn't have the minus to leadership, but it just strips wounds. You take a leadership test, and it just automatically removes wounds. So that's a fun little one to place anywhere on the board. And then he has a Grizzly Totem, which is like a staff. It's a Brace Staff. It gets the Brace Staff rules. However, units within 6 suffer -1 to their leadership down to a minimum of 2. So that's just builds into that leadership debuffing list that exists in Beastman. So Kralmaw is 95 points more than a regular Brace Shaman or Great Brace Shaman. Sorry, you get +2 weapon skill, +1 wound, and a 4-up ward, and the Devolve Tower. So yeah, I'm not entirely convinced. I think the ability to shoot Devolve around the board like is a cool thing. I don't know if it's worth it because this guy can't be mounted, and you'll see the Brace Shaman mounted. Maybe less in this list because you want to group many of them together, but generally you'll have them on chariots. He's losing 150 points in the Army of Infamy that we're talking about in terms of character customization, which is rough. But I think the really what hurts him the most is like the magic items in Beastman. Because he's a special character, he can't take the Hagtree Fetish or the Demon Heart, and you've kind of got to take both of them in your like specifically in this Army of Infamy, and I think in general Beastman lists. So that means that you need 2 casters that are not him. So at that point, you're maybe taking 2 Great Brace Shaman, and then you can't take him anymore, or you're taking 1. But anyways, it becomes a lot of points invested in Brace Shamans at that point because he's like 230, 245. So I'm not convinced. I don't think he's terrible. He's way better than a lot of the special characters that we see in these books. He's better than Goros for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see him in games. I'm not entirely sold. Andrew, what do you think of this guy?
Yeah, I agree. Like I think he's awesome, and if he was in any other book, um, than the Beastman lists, I think, he would see a lot of play. But like you said, he's competing with custom built Great Brace Shamans that just can do much more on the table than he can. With the access they have to the Beastman's really powerful magic items, and especially like their arcane stuff. Um, I don't think he's bad in any regards, and like I think he's appropriately costed. It's just he's outshone by just something you can custom build, which is unfortunate because he is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and just like this army has some of the best casters because of all the stuff you can stack on, so that makes it like as you mentioned even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not entirely sold, but at least we're like he's not dumpster level, so we'll probably see
No.
him around. Cool. You want to take the next one, the Warp Gores?
Yeah, Warped Gores. They are 16 points apiece. You can take them in units of 5+. They're regular infantry equipped with hand weapons. They are movement 5, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 2, strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 3, D3 attacks, leadership 7. And if you take a sergeant, they are leadership 8. You can give them additional hand weapons or shields for free, and you must pick one of those 2 when buying these guys. And then any unit can take the full command allotment, And they can have ambushers for a .0 model, but only one of these units in the army can. They have Armored Hide 1, Blessing of Chaos, Blood Rage, Mark of Chaos Undivided, Move Through Cover, Open Order, Primal Fury, Random Attacks, which is in their attack stat, Stubborn, and Warband. And then Blessing of Chaos is an interesting rule. So when they are chosen to fight in step 1.1 of choose and fight combat subphase, you roll on a table. On a 1 to 2, they get stinging barbs. Until the end of this combat phase, models with this special rule gain poison attacks. Nice. On a 3 to 4, till the end of the combat phase, all attacks made by models with this special rule have the armor piercing characteristic of -2. Even better. On a 5 to 6, they get Chitinous Hide. Until the end of the combat phase, models with this special rule gain +1 modifier to their toughness, which is kind of neat, but I think the first two options are better.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going with the additional hand weapon, so they would have D3 +1 attacks.
Yeah. At
I kind of,
AP2.
yeah, at AP2 or poison.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of dig these guys. They got that nice movement 5 beastman speed. They are kind of a little pricey at 16 points a pop, especially when I think a regular gore is like 7 or 8.
Yes. 7, yeah.
So, over double what a normal goer does. But I think there's play here. They have shields, so if you go with that route with Armored Hide, they have a toughness or an armor save of 5+. Not great, but it's better than what a lot of the stuff in the Beastman book gets.
Sure.
They're fast. You can give them ambushers. Like, this would probably be the unit that I would ambush in this list. That way that, they come in backfield, they probably won't be catching a lot of range shooting. And once they do hit combat, I think they're half decent. Strength 3 is not the greatest, but if you're relying on poison or just a sheer buttload of attacks, if you're really good on the the D3,
Yeah.
I think there's some use to these guys, but probably not the most optimal. It'd be more like I really want to have this in my army because of like the theme or the idea behind them. But yeah, I don't super hate them. It's just they're probably not the best.
Yeah, agreed. I think they're cool. They're an interesting idea. It's like we have Forsaken of Chaos at home situation here.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is, they had Korngors, Zangors, Pestigors, Slangors, and then they gave us these guys, which feels like a definite bit of a miss there. But like all that aside, you're getting +1 leadership and let's call it 3 attacks on average because you're going to take the additional hand weapons, I think, in most cases, for 16 points versus 7. So like you're getting more output surely than the regular gores. However, the fact that these guys are not in core, I think is rough because you're going to have a ton of points sunk into your characters, probably close to 1,000. Then you're going to have 600 points, 660 points in your core. You got like 300 points left, and you probably want to take Dragon Ogres in some way, shape, or form. So like, there's just going to be not much left for these guys, which I think base are like 80 something points just for a unit of 5 of them. So I'm not sure that for that reason you'll really ever see them. I think just like in a vacuum, they have Stubborn, which is really good for in the Beastman army, and then like I'd maybe take them in min-sized units. 5 guys with Stubborn, maybe ambushing, maybe not, but getting up to that would be up to like theoretically 16 attacks or whatever, or 15 attack. No, it would be more than that. Actually, it would be up to 20 attacks theoretically. So that's decent, especially if you manage to roll like the AP or poison. But I think beyond sort of that scenario, and you're really not going to have the points for them, it's not great. Interestingly, they lose Bestial Charge from the regular gores, which is +1 strength on the charge. So then these guys don't like strength 3 is not ideal for sure. And I don't think Blessings of Chaos is enough to redeem them. Like when you and it gets really sad when you compare them to Forsaken. Forsaken costs 3 points more. They are in core. They can get Swift Stride or Hatred on the unit. They're strength 4. And they have a better table because they get Killing Blow on like the 5/6 rather than toughness 1. So yeah, I think Forsaken are a hell of a lot better than these guys. So yeah, overall, I think they're a bit of a miss. I would have preferred Corn Gores, Zangors, like all the marked Gores basically, but yeah, I guess they're fine. They're not absolute dog shit. Like you could run a min-sized unit of them just to mess around, but I'm a bit disappointed. Okay, let's look at the next one. Primal Warhounds. So Primal Warhounds, this is a fun one. Primal Warhounds is basically just Chaos Hound Warhounds with added few added handlers, Ungar handlers with them. So there's 6 points a model, movement 7, weapon skill 4, strength and toughness 3, 1 wound, initiative 3, 1 attack, leadership 5 only. They just come with hand weapons, and you can't change that. You can take 1 Ungor Ravager for every 3 Primal Warhounds in the unit for 7 points. You can give them Armored Hide for 1 point or Poison Attack for 1 point, like you can with the regular Chaos Hounds, but you can't give them Vanguard, though. So there's that. The Ungor Ravagers are movement 7, so at least they're not slowing the unit down, which is like very good. From that perspective, weapon, skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness are all 3. 1 wound, initiative 3, 1 attack, leadership 7 for 7 points. They are stuck with throwing spears, and shields. They get, in terms of the unit special rules, the Hounds come with Close Order, which is an important change, I think, from the Chaos Warhounds. Horde, Motley Crew, Move Through Cover, Swift Stride, and Warband. And then the Ungor Ravagers have basically the same thing, in addition to Primal Fury and Warband. Not Warband, Leader of the Pack. Leader of the Pack gives them, basically it just means that they need to be behind the Warhounds whenever they move around, which is fine. So that's our Primal Warhounds. I kind of like this unit actually. The reason why is they, yeah, I think they're a decent pick. Like I think the reason why they're good is they come with Close Order, and Close Order with a bunch of really cheap bodies means you can use them to stack combat res, especially with Warband on them and Horde, which is good. So their movement 7, Swift Stride. They'll be re-rolling charges because of Warband. So I mean that's all good. So they're a fun little unit, or big unit if you want, frankly, to move up the flanks, get flank charges on your enemy for quite, I think, a very cheap sort of package overall. I would suggest that you take these guys with at least 1 Ungor Ravager. I think by my quick read there, you're not forced to take one, but I would at least take 1 because it gives you leadership 7 base instead of 5, and then it gives you Primal Fury, which a bit less of a big thing there, but at least you'll be able to re-roll your ones if you happen to be fishing for 6s on like poison attacks or what have you. So I think they've got play in this Army of Infamy. Nothing like to shake up the meta or make the Army of Infamy like a slam dunk, but they're not a bad unit. They're a fun little unit. Andrew, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm not super convinced that they're that much better than the regular Warhounds. Yeah, I'm not. They just seem like regular Warhounds to me. Like, I guess Close Order is nice. You
Yeah.
maybe do some like proper redirect cheap units with them, but you have to take 10, which is a lot. It's a lot of dogs. Um, yeah, I'm not super convinced on these guys over just regular Warhounds.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. We'll test them out. We'll see. We'll see what we think. Okay. You want to get the next one, the Primal Warherds?
Yeah, for sure. So this is, I guess, kind of the big selling point that GW was pushing during the lead up to this release, and it was the mixed units of Gores and Ungors. Uh, so the unit, so it's a Primal Warherd. Unit size is you need 10 of each Gore and Ungor. Gores are 7 points, Ungors are 6 points. No change to their stats other than that. Gores must take additional hand weapon or shields. Ungors must take thrusting spears or throwing spears. Any unit can upgrade their Gores to have full command, and if you take a musician, you can have a banner up to 50 points. And the sergeant can change his hand weapon or his shield for a great weapon, and can also purchase magic items up to 25. For special rules, they have Beastal Charge on just the Gore half of this unit. Blood Rage, Close Order, Horde, Impetuous, Market Chaos Undivided, Mixed Unit, which we'll go into in a second, Motley Crude, Move Through Cover, Primal Fury, and Warband. When putting this unit together, the Gores are always in the front, with Ungors making up the rear ranks.
Yeah.
And if there's any sort of fuckery where things in the back or front die weirdly, it's always the Gores that push to the front first.
Yeah.
Beastal Charge, pretty nice. During a turn in which it makes a charge move of 3 inches or more, a model with this special rule gains a +1 modifier to their strength. So you're looking at strength 4 Gores, which is nice. And then for mixed units, models with a Primal Warherd have a different weapon skill and toughness characteristics. Before rolling to wound, hits caused by enemy shooting should be divided as evenly as possible between Gores and Ungors. In combat, enemy models must direct their attacks against models in the fighting rank of this unit, as described in the rulebook. That's it for that. So basically, in close combat, your Gores are dying first. In shooting, you just distribute it equally. So you use the Ungors as meat shields for arrows.
Mhm.
It's kind of cool that you can give it throwing spears, so they can make stand-in shoots.
No, the throwing spear is a close combat weapon. It just gives initiative when you charge.
Fucking useless.
Yeah, fucking
Isn't
useless.
that thrusting spears? What's the difference?
Now, thrusting spear is when you get charged, and throwing spears are when you charge. Yeah. The bonus to initiative.
All right, I
Yeah.
take that back. Do they at least get fighting extra rank?
I think when you get charged, yes, but they're so maybe but the Gores are in front of them, so it may sometimes come in. I'll need to double check. It may sometimes come into play, but not always. They should get fighting extra rank when they do get charged. Yes.
Okay. I kind of like the idea of this unit. I'm not sure if the implementation of it is super amazing. Beastal Charge is nice because it'll buff up your your Gores. And you still kind of get all the stuff you want. So, if you want to give a big block of Gores the poison banner and just try to drown your opponent in poison attacks, that's fine. Although you'll probably want to save that banner for just an Ungore shooting block instead, especially in this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a cool idea, but not maybe fully cooked. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
I agree with you. I don't really see the point of these guys, unfortunately. Yeah, there's just nothing here really. Like, it's cool. It's nostalgia, I guess. Like, because this used to be a thing before. Yeah, I guess like you can get a slightly cheaper horde. Like you could save a few points on if you just want a lot of wounds to get combat res or just to, I don't know, block something or you know, tar pit something up. You can maybe save a few points when you do it. But I'm fishing to find something here. I think what really kills this unit for me is that the Ungors cannot take bows. If they could, this would have some play because it would turn into a little bit like the Royal Host in Tomb Kings, right? Where you would have your Gors in front for that defense when you get charged, and then a big amount of Ungors behind with poison shots. So I think that would definitely have play. But in the absence of that, there's really not much to write home about here. It's cool that it exists, but it doesn't really do much for me. I did double check the spears while you were, which one was what, Andrew, while we were talking there. And yeah, thrusting spears you do get fight an extra rank, but only when you get charged. And throwing spears is exactly what I told you. So it's not, not a great unit. I think you have to take one. Okay, cool. But I think that's about all I'm going to say about this unit. Like it's, yeah, if you want to do it, you've got a bunch of models, go for it. But yeah, I don't really see the point, frankly. Okay, let's move on to the last one here, the Praeton. So the Praeton is a monstrous creature that comes for 160 points. It's movement 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 0, which is fine. Strength, toughness 5, wounds 4, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 6. It comes with claws and fangs, which count as hand weapons, twisted antlers, and scaly skin. So it has a 5+ armor save. You can give it ambushers for 10 points, which is fun. A flying ambushing monster is neat. You could give it frenzy for 5 points. Hopefully, I think you'll give it frenzy most of the time. It comes with close order, crown of antlers, endless malice, fly 10, impact hits D3, large target, and terror. Let's look at those 2 special rules. So the crown of antlers gives its impact hits, which has D3. Yeah, it's D3 impact hits, have armor bane 1 and armor piercing value of 1. Endless Malice, if this unit wins a round of combat and chooses to restrain and reform, enemy units within 6 must take a panic test as if a nearby friend had been destroyed. Its twisted antlers are strength user, so strength 5, AP 2, armor bane 1. You can take you can only take Praetons in the Beastman Brayherd's Grand Army composition list for 0 to 1 per 1,000 points in special. You can also take them in the Army of Infamy. They're listed there. You cannot take them in Minotaurs. Praetons, I'm a bit disappointed with these guys. First thing I'll say is a T5, T5 especially, but also Strength 5 monster. Large target is not ideal for sure. T5 monsters are always kind of flimsy, especially when all they have is a 5+ armor save. So anything that can wound them basically will most of the time anyways will strip their armor entirely. So that's not ideal. These guys will melt to like cannons and stuff like that too. They've got no Swift Stride, which is really problematic. Like Fly 10 model with no Swift Stride is rough. You roll poorly on that charge roll or whatever, and they don't make it into combat, they're gonna get shot apart. At least it does have terror. I don't think endless malice is a great rule. Like the panic test, if you restrain after combat, is sure situational slightly. If this thing wins combat firstly, and then not great in general, and then impact hits at AP1 are fine, I guess. So yeah, 160 points feels a little bit expensive for what you're getting. I get that you can't make a much cheaper than that, but yeah, I'm not sold on this guy. I don't think he's great. And he's not a great model either. He's a bit of a derpy old sculpt, and he's on a sideways base, 75 by 50, which is always weird for me. So yeah, I'm not a fan. Andrew, what are your thoughts on the Praeton?
Yeah. I think you highlighted sort of all of his weaknesses. Um, I don't. There's not. It should be like 100 points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's too expensive.
He's too expensive. I guess you can ambush him, like you said, and then you can just kind of derp around in the back trying to pick off war machines or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he's not the worst in combat. He's strength 5 with AP 2 and armor bane. Like that's a nice.
AP1 on his hand weapons. Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't use his twisted antlers for everything?
Twisted antlers, I think, are just
Claws
oh
and
well.
Fangs count as hand weapon and
Oh,
twisted
you're right.
antlers
No, you're
heal.
right. I'm sorry. I thought it. Yeah, you're entirely correct. He would be AP2
Yes.
strength 5. Yeah, you're
So he'd
correct.
use his fucking antlers. So that's like not the worst. Um and he's decently fast with fly 10 even without Swiss Stride. Like that's not crazy bad, base move 10. But yeah, he's just kind of like all over the place. Actually, he kind of reminds me of a chariot.
Yeah, a little
He's
bit
got
with impact hits
he's got the
AP1. Yeah.
impact hits. He's got like decent. He's got 4 attacks, weapon skill 5, toughness 5. Like that's all chariot shit.
Yeah,
5 up
that's a good
armor
comparison.
save.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, so he's just kind of like a sideways chariot. So he's not. I don't know. Maybe you'll see play,
Four
but he's
wounds
not
is
amazing.
is not a lot of wounds
Four,
either.
4 wounds is rough. Large target. I don't understand. He's never that big of a model. I've
No.
seen one in real life. Like they're not big, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not an optimal choice. I will say that. If you want to run
Agreed.
one, go for it. It might do some work, but I think
Yeah.
there's better ways to spend your points, especially in this army.
Yeah, wholly agreed. I think if you want to lean into like the meme, everything's ambush all the time list, and you take 3 of these guys, they're probably 0 to 1 per thousand. I'll double check here, but like you take multiple of these guys in ambush, just yeah, it would be two in ambush, just to sort of lean into that more heavily. But I think they're not optimal for sure. Bit of a miss for me. Cool. So before I close this out, Andrew, any standouts, any missed opportunities, any dumpster tier units in here? Like, how do you see them all together?
I don't think anything's like full on dumpster tier. I think if you plan your army appropriately, any of the units we've covered, you'll get some sort of play out of, but you need to lean into the strengths of those things. Maybe the worst one would be the primal war herds, just because they kind of don't have a real purpose other than being not the best gore unit or not the best ungore unit, and it's just meshed together. I think that's probably the low point. I kind of dig the warped gores. It's kind of unfortunate they weren't like your mandatory core, especially with Kralma there. Like they kind of give
Yeah,
the hint that like his lore, he's kind of like warping shit around him and shit.
yeah, that would be a
But
cool thing. One in core if you have Kralma as your general, for instance.
yeah, like I think that would have been interesting because I'm not as down on them as you seem to be. Um, sure they're not the possessed warriors or whatever they're called.
Forsaken. Yeah.
Um, Forsaken, but I don't know. I kind of like them. But none of this stuff seems to play into the strength of the army, which is you're gonna want to go like wicked magic heavy, um, and then probably shore that up with a big poison ungor block. Um, and the stuff like none of the other units really play into that. Um, so I don't know. I like the list. I just think it's unique. Um, Units for the actual list are probably not stuff you're gonna want to take in any sort of large amounts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think any of these units are things that you're going to really see on the tables. Thinking of other armies of infamy, if you're playing into, I don't know, Wolves of the Sea, you're probably going to see some skin wolves because they're a good addition to that army. But in this case, I don't think any of these really move the needle very much. I think Kralma is the best out of the lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, like he suffers from Great Bray Shamans are freaking amazing and have just good options in every category and some incredible magic items, which he can't take. But I think he can still be in the conversation. I'll need to test it out a little bit to see if the Devolve machine gun turret that you could put forward does as much work as I think it does. That may change the needle a little bit for me, but I think Kralma is definitely in the conversation. He's not one of those unique characters that you never take. So that's fine. I think Primal Warherds are decent. They're okay. You can do some fun stuff with the close order on them, but that's about it. And I think the three other ones are kind of a miss for me. Like Primal Warherds themselves, if they weren't 1+, like if you weren't forced to take them, I don't know why you would ever take them. So there's that. Warped Gores. Yeah, I'm less hot on them than you are, Andrew. I don't think they're dumpster tier. I just think they're too expensive. Not enough strength on them. Unfortunately, is how I'd rate them, and just sadder Forsaken. Unfortunately, and then Praytons are, I think, just going to get shot every game if they're not in ambush, and not great. Like I'd rather, I don't know, have a Gorgon than a Prayton, for instance. And I don't really rate Gorgons either. So, anyways, that's that. So I don't think these move the needle much. Maybe Kralma a little bit, but that's about it. Yeah. So overall, just to the Army of Infamy, I think it has competitive play based on two of the special rules, but primarily the one where you can, I forget the name right now, but the one where you can add the number of casters in your command range to your casting level. That's super strong, and people are going to mess with that a ton, especially hanging out around a sorry a herdstone in the middle of the board. Yeah, just all those casters casting tons of wild tides. It's going to be nasty for sure. But so yeah, it has played competitively. It's not as good as the Grand Army for sure, because you do lose some interesting options in there for sure. And it is 100%, I think, better than the even though I do like them very much, the Minotaur list. What are your closing thoughts on this Army of Infamy?
Like I think it's definitely going to see competitive play. People
Yeah,
are going to lean super heavy into the magic side of things, and
yeah,
I also agree that out of the two armies of infamy, it's probably the more competitive one. Although I think they're both fairly decently competitive. Um, so it's not a big divide, I think, between the two.
agreed,
And
agreed.
and again, um, since we did just a couple months now or a month now have a team tournament, I think this is also a possible contender for like a teams format and just being that super heavy anti magic and also casting magic list. Um, I kind of want to see how this would do against something like undead,
Yeah,
which are a hard wall for a lot of armies and a lot of lists, but being able to shut down sort of magic with their ability to stack casters on the dispels, like I think that might be pretty damaging to, at least I'm thinking, um the mortuary cult, who are
yeah,
very reliant on magic. Like they might struggle a little bit, although they also have other things that sort of shore that up, especially if they lean into the stupid shooting that they
agreed.
have. But it'd be interesting to see how those matches play out, because I think it will be something that will at least make those lists think twice. They have to be a little bit more careful with placement and what spells they choose to cast and how they're able to get them out. So yeah, interesting to look at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Yeah, it'll see play, and I like your point about team tournaments. I think this is a very interesting team tournament list because it has some bad matchups, I guess, but like it can just lean really heavy into the Magic and be a very good skew list for sure. And I mean, you can make a ridiculous Magic machine gun out of this if you go really heavy on it. You take 2 Great Brays and 3 Bray Shamans. Like I'll have to look at the points there, but like let's say you can fit this in. You go Demonology with them. You give them all Vile Tide and the summoning, and because of your casting bonuses being so high, you toss out 10d6 hits from summoning, and then 25d6 hits from Vile Tide. Like just a mental amount of damage output from that. So, I mean, that could be really fun or unfun depending on your perspective to play against. So yeah, it's interesting. It's for sure an interesting build, and I think you're right, Andrew. In team play, especially where you can control those matchups a little bit, you can probably do some pretty wacko things with it. I think I kind of prefer this even to the Grand Army, specifically in that team context. So, yeah, perfect. That was it for our review of the Primal Herd, or the Wild Herd, sorry. And yeah, next episode, we may be talking about whatever's released next because there's a ton of content coming out from GW these days, but who knows? Andrew, anything you want to shout out before we shut this one down?
Yeah, tickets are still on sale for CCBB. Just go to the Canhammer Facebook page for links to the BCP tickets if you don't want to search through the BCP app. Otherwise, you can just search Capital City Bloodbath. It's happening August 23rd and 24th in Ottawa. There'll be 5 games of Old World in the hall, catered meals both days, ample parking, tons of space. Or if you're sci-fi inclined, there's also a 40K tournament, which is kind of the focus of the event, but let's not talk about them. Also, be sure to check us out on Discord. Come chat with us, and we will have links to that on the Motley Crue Facebook page, as well as our Instagram. And I don't know if Kevin's able to add it to the show notes, but
yeah, I can. I'll do that. Yeah, I will.
So we'll have a link to our Discord there. You can come chat, hang out, tell us what you're up to, tell us what we got wrong in this episode, all that fun stuff.
Awesome, perfect. And if you do get tickets for CCBB, you'll be able to face both me and Ryan there. So that'll be great. Awesome. Have a good one. Yeah, exactly. Have a good one.